My brother tried to kick me out of the family group chat for not cosigning his third loan. My cousins voted me out like it was Survivor. So I sent a screenshot of my bank statement with a message that burned that group to the ground. I was sitting in my car outside a Kroger in Cincinnati, Ohio, eating cold chicken tenders out of the box because I'd skipped lunch again when my phone started blowing up. At first, I thought it was another meme dump from my cousins, the usual chaos. But when I unlocked my phone, the first thing I saw was a wall of messages in the family group chat, my brother Mark's name all over it, followed by something that made my chest go cold. I vote yes to remove her, she's selfish as hell. That was from my cousin Brooke. Then another, yes, she brings negative energy lately. And another, from a cousin I hadn't even talked to since Grandma's funeral. 3 yes votes. 1 no, from my aunt who always tries to keep the peace. And then a message from Mark, majority rules, remove her. Just like that. Like I was some problem coworker they were offboarding. At first I honestly thought it was a joke. They've done stupid, Survivor-themed stuff before, like last year when they voted someone off the island for bringing coleslaw to Thanksgiving. But then I scrolled up and saw what started it, and my stomach actually clenched. Mark had asked, no, demanded that I co-sign another loan for him. His third one in 4 years. Each time it's the same story. This is the one that'll get me back on track. And each time I'm left dealing with collections calls, credit hits, and unspoken resentment when I say no. So this time I did something he wasn't expecting. I said, no. I'm not taking on your debt. I can't keep saving you from your choices. That's all it took. Mark lost it in the chat. He said I was acting superior, that I owed family loyalty. And then, because he can't help himself, claimed I only have money because I don't help people. That one actually made me laugh in the middle of the Kroger lot, because if anyone in this family bleeds themselves dry to keep the peace, it's me. But then he sent this message. If you're not contributing to the family, you shouldn't be in the family chat. That's when the fake little vote started. My cousins, who barely know anything about my life beyond what my mom posts, started chiming in. Acting like this was some democratic council. Acting like kicking me out of a group chat was a punishment I'd feel in my bones. I sat there with my chicken tenders and watched the messages roll in. Vote after vote. None of them asking why. None of them caring that I'd lent Mark money before, that I'd co-signed 1 loan already, that I'd spent years dealing with the fallout. And then the notification hit. You were removed from family. Just like that, like a button press. Like I wasn't blood. I sat there for a long time, staring at the screen, feeling this mix of disbelief and anger and, honestly, humiliation. They made a whole spectacle of it. They wanted me to feel small. And for a second, I almost did. Then something in me snapped into place, quiet and sharp. I reopened the chat through the notification preview, which still gave me temporary access, scrolled up to Mark's messages about me being selfish, and hit screenshot on something I never thought I'd use. My bank account, nearly drained from helping him last time. I typed a single message. I hit send, and that message didn't just shut them up. It burned the entire chat to the ground. But that's not even the real twist. The real twist came after. Before everything blew up in that stupid group chat, my relationship with Mark had been slowly rotting for years, and I was the only one who seemed to smell it. Mark is 3 years older than me. Growing up in our little split-level house in Milford, Ohio, he was the golden child by default, not because he was special, but because our parents were exhausted by the time I came along. He got the first phone, the first car, the bigger bedroom. When he messed up, it was boys will be boys. When I messed up, it was you should know better. If I'm being honest, I didn't resent him for any of that. Not back then. It was just the dynamic I was born into. But what really shaped me, and him, was the way our parents handled money. My dad would bail Mark out of anything. Traffic tickets, lost debit cards, misunderstandings at school fundraisers where money somehow went missing. Even his first credit card bill, which he ran up in 3 months. Dad paid it all and never made him face a consequence. Meanwhile, I was the one who had to work at the Kroger bakery after school just to have enough for gas and prom dresses. I didn't hate Mark. I pitied him. A lifetime of being saved made him think everyone existed to catch his fall. When Dad passed 4 years ago, that safety net disappeared overnight. Mom was grieving and working part-time. I was already in my own apartment, juggling bills, trying to build credit. Mark, though, he spiraled, quit 2 jobs in 1 year, racked up debt. Came to me crying one night saying he needed help or he'd lose everything. That was the first loan. I didn't co-sign because I thought he'd pay it back. I did it because I felt like I was the only adult left in our family. And honestly, I wanted peace. I wanted to be the good one, the dependable one, the one who didn't create problems. He defaulted in 7 months. I spent the next 2 years digging myself out of the mess that followed: interest hikes, credit damage, letters that made my stomach drop every time I opened the mailbox. And while I was living on ramen to keep afloat, Mark still somehow had money for new shoes, brunches, weekend trips, and whatever else kept him from feeling the consequences of his own choices. But I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to be the bitter sibling. I didn't want to turn family into a battlefield. So when he came back last year asking for help again, I stupidly gave him $2,000 from my savings. That was supposed to be my emergency fund, money for car repairs or rent if I ever lost my job. He said he'd pay me in 2 months. He paid me nothing. Not a dollar, not even a text update. I finally snapped last Christmas. I asked him about the money in front of Mom, and the way he looked at me, annoyed like I was inconveniencing him, something twisted inside me. He said, "You're obsessed with money. It's not that deep." That was when I first started pulling away, skipping gatherings, staying quiet in the family chat. Every time I saw his name, something in me tightened, and I guess they all noticed, just not for the reasons they should have. So when Mark dropped that message a few days ago, demanding I co-sign yet another loan, acting like it was his right, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Done. Completely done. But none of that compared to what came next, once the group chat blew up, and Mark revealed the real reason he needed that loan. After they kicked me out of the chat, I drove home from the Kroger parking lot shaking, not crying, not scared, just running on this electric mix of anger and humiliation. It's one thing to get betrayed by one person. It's another to watch an entire group of people who share your DNA treat you like a nuisance they could vote off the island. When I got home to my little apartment in Norwood, I tossed the uneaten chicken into the trash, sat on the couch, and tried to breathe through the adrenaline still spiking through me. The whole time, my phone kept vibrating with random notifications, direct texts now that I wasn't in the chat. Messages like, "Brooke, you could have handled that better." My cousin Tyler, "You know he's going through a lot." My mom, "Can you please not make a scene?" I didn't answer any of them. Not because I didn't have anything to say, God, I had too much, but because all of them were circling the wrong issue. They were talking about tone and family harmony. Nobody cared why I said no. Nobody cared what I'd already sacrificed. Then Mark texted me directly. He didn't even wait 5 minutes after kicking me out. "Mark, if you're done acting dramatic, we still need to talk about the loan." I actually laughed. A short, ugly, disbelieving laugh. Still, need to talk. About the loan. Like the group chat vote was some warm-up exercise, I didn't reply. I blocked him. For the first time in my life, I hit block on my own brother. Not 10 minutes later, my mom called. I let it ring. Then she left a voicemail saying she was disappointed I let money divide the family. That one hit harder than anything my cousins said, because it was the exact kind of line Dad used to give Mark whenever he got in trouble. Don't rock the boat. Don't embarrass the family. Don't talk about the real issue. I sat there for a long time, staring at the wall, thinking about how weird it was that the person who'd taken the hits, financially, emotionally, repeatedly, was somehow the villain to them. And the more I replayed it, the more details I noticed that I'd brushed off. Mark's urgency. His weird defensiveness. The cousins voting so fast, almost like they already knew the script. And the fact that he didn't say what the loan was for. Something was off. Not just normal Mark chaos off. Something rotting under the surface. And then things escalated. First, my aunt texted me privately. "Honey, I don't agree with how they handled it, but Mark's been telling people you're doing really well financially. Maybe he feels you're holding out on him." Doing really well. Holding out. Those were words he didn't pull out of nowhere. Someone had told him something. Then my cousin Brooke sent me another message. "You know Mark wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. He said you'd understand once he told you the real reason." The real reason. That phrase sat heavy in my stomach. Because if there was a real reason, why didn't he just tell me from the beginning? I opened the screenshot I'd sent to the group chat. The one showing my bank balance hemorrhaged from the money I'd given him. The one with the message I'd dropped like a grenade. Here's what selfish looks like after cleaning up your messes. I hadn't checked their reactions because the preview window disappeared once I closed it. I had no idea what chaos it caused, but the truth came out faster than I expected. At 11:42 p.m., after a whole day of silence, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. Just one sentence: "You should know what your brother is really doing with that money." There was a photo attached. And when I opened it, every piece of the puzzle snapped into place. Except the part I didn't see coming, because the first twist wasn't the real twist at all. The photo wasn't blurry or vague or something I could rationalize away. It was crystal clear. My brother Mark, my screw-up, always in trouble, family loyalty preaching brother, was standing in the middle of a newly renovated sports betting lounge inside a casino downtown. Brand new signage, fresh paint, big neon screens behind him showing live bets. And he wasn't just there. He was working there. More specifically, he was wearing a polo with the casino logo and a name tag that said Mark VIP Accounts. VIP Accounts. I stared at the picture so long my phone dimmed twice. The message underneath finally registered. He's been taking out loans to cover his gambling markers. He owes a lot more than he's telling anyone. My chest tightened. I felt this slow, burning heat crawl up my neck. Markers, not just debt, gambling debt. The kind casinos don't let slide. The kind you can't negotiate with. The kind that sinks a person and drags anyone close enough down with them. It lined up with everything. The urgency, the panic, the pressure on me to co-sign, the cousins jumping in like they already had a story. He'd spun them a narrative where he was the victim, and I was the rich, heartless sibling refusing to help him get his life together. But in reality, Mark wasn't drowning, he was doubling down. I texted back, "Who is this?" No reply. I tried calling, straight to voicemail. I paced my apartment, phone in hand, replaying every conversation we'd had in the last year. All the times he insisted he was working on himself. The sudden bursts of fake positivity, the random disappearances, the tight months, the emergencies. He wasn't struggling. He was gambling while I was draining my savings to cover him. The worst part wasn't the money, though. It was the humiliation. The fact that he let an entire group of relatives vote me out like a failed contestant because I wouldn't enable him again. And none of them knew the truth. Or maybe they knew his version. That thought hit hard. Because in the group chat messages before I was removed, two cousins mentioned something that made no sense at the time. He shouldn't have to explain medical stuff. She's heartless if she won't help. Medical. He'd told them it was medical, that he needed me to co-sign so he could pay hospital bills. I felt sick. He lied about me. He lied about himself. And he weaponized family loyalty to protect his addiction. I sat down on my couch, staring at nothing, my hands shaking, not with fear or sadness, but with this cold clarity I hadn't felt before. The kind that makes you see the world differently, like a curtain had finally been pulled back. Mark wasn't just irresponsible. He was manipulative. He was calculated. He was using anyone he could pull into his orbit, and I had been his biggest catch. His safety net. His fixer. His walking, breathing bailout plan. And when I stopped playing along, he punished me publicly. I opened the casino photo again, zooming in. If he was working there, he wasn't barely surviving like he told everyone. But VIP accounts, that meant access. That meant temptation. That meant a world where he could lose more money than he ever had. A knock suddenly hit my door at midnight so hard it rattled the frame. I froze. No one visits me that late. Another knock. Louder. My phone vibrated in my hand. It was my mom. I answered. Before I could speak, she said, voice shaking, "Why did Mark just show up here screaming about you ruining everything?" Ruining everything. He knew about the screenshot. He knew about the picture. He knew I was onto him. And that wasn't even the worst part, because the second twist was still coming, and it cut even deeper. I didn't sleep that night. Not because of fear. Fear had burned off hours earlier, but because clarity had finally snapped into place like a locked puzzle piece. I sat at my small kitchen table in my dark apartment in Norwood, hands wrapped around a mug of cold coffee, while Mark spiraled at my mom's house across town. She kept calling every hour, saying things like, "He's pacing outside. He won't tell me what's going on. He said you're trying to destroy his life." Destroy his life. It was almost funny, in a pathetic way. His life was already collapsing. I wasn't destroying anything. I was just refusing to be the scaffolding that held him up while he rotted from the inside. By 4 a.m., anger had cooled into something sharper: purpose. If Mark wanted to humiliate me publicly, if he wanted to twist the whole family against me, if he wanted to paint me as selfish while draining my bank account and lying about medical bills, fine. But I wasn't going to let him walk away from this chaos he built. I opened a blank note on my phone and started outlining everything I knew and everything I suspected. 1. The casino job VIP accounts wasn't just random. It meant he dealt with high rollers. People who gambled big. People who borrowed big. People Mark probably admired more than he feared consequences. 2. The marker's someone out there. Whoever texted me knew Mark owed money. Real money. The kind that came with contracts and legal obligations. If he skipped payments, they could sue him, they could garnish wages. Hell, they could file criminal charges if he wrote bad checks. 3. The family lie he told the cousins he had medical issues, that I was refusing to help with hospital bills. It explained why they voted so fast. They thought they were defending him. They weren't malicious, they were manipulated. 4. The loan request: he wasn't asking for help. He was asking for a shield. If I co-signed, the debt wouldn't be in just his name. It would be in mine. And casinos love that, another person tied to the obligation. Another guarantee. It all pointed to one truth: Mark wasn't desperate. Mark was cornered, and cornered people make stupid decisions. But calculated people, they make dangerous ones. By sunrise, my phone buzzed with a message from my aunt. "Honey, I shouldn't say this, but Mark told everyone you sent that screenshot to blackmail him. The cousins are freaking out." Blackmail. He wasn't just ruining my reputation, he was rewriting reality. That's when I decided I was done playing defense. I called off work, pulled out my laptop, and started planning my retaliation. Not petty revenge, not yelling. Not airing dirty laundry to the whole family. Strategic, surgical revenge. The kind that leaves no question about who lied, who manipulated, who used people. I typed out a list. Get proof of the gambling markers. Get proof of his job easy, thanks to the photo. Contact the person who texted me. Find out exactly how much debt he was in. Gather texts showing he'd borrowed from me before. Gather bank statements. Lay everything out in a way that no one could twist. But the most important part, I needed to find out why he was so frantic about this specific loan. Why this moment? Why now? People don't implode this violently unless something is pressing on them harder than fear. As I organized everything, a notification popped up on my phone, an unknown number again. This time, it wasn't a picture, just a sentence. "If you want the full truth about your brother, you need to meet me in person." Under it was an address. Not a casino, not a cafe, but a rundown strip mall in Newport, Kentucky, across the river. Everything in me said this was reckless. But something colder, sharper, said it was necessary. Because the second twist was waiting for me there. And it wasn't about money. It was about something far more personal. I stared at the address on my phone for a long time before I moved. It wasn't a place you casually show up to. I knew the strip mall in Newport, Kentucky, everyone did. Half the storefronts were empty, and the other half were cash-for-gold places, vape shops, or shady consulting offices that stayed open weirdly late. The kind of place where people minded their own business because it was safer that way. But something in me said I needed to go. Not for Mark. For myself. Because whatever this person knew, they were risking something by reaching out. And because the longer I sat in the dark of my apartment, the clearer one truth became. I didn't know my brother at all. I drove across the river as the sky turned gray, that early morning fog rolling over the water like a warning. I parked 2 spaces away from the address, an office with blacked-out windows and a flickering neon open sign that clearly wasn't open for real customers. My phone buzzed. "Come to the back door." I walked around the side of the strip mall, pulse steady but heavy, and found a metal door propped open with a broken brick. A man stood inside. A stocky guy in a worn leather jacket, mid-40s, eyes tired in a way that looked permanent. Not threatening, just exhausted. "You're Mark's sister?" he asked. "Yes." He nodded, stepped aside, and shut the door behind us. What happened next was nothing I expected. He reached into a drawer, pulled out a stack of papers, and slid them across a folding table. All this is tied to your brother. I scanned the papers. Not quickly, each one punched me in the gut in slow motion. These weren't gambling markers, they were loan applications. Dozens of them, some denied, some approved. But the names on them my breath caught. Some were Mark's, some weren't, some were mine. I froze. He pointed to one sheet in particular, an application for a $15,000 personal loan from a lender I'd never even heard of. The signature on it wasn't mine, not even close. My heart thudded violently. "This is identity theft," I whispered. "Yeah," he said. "Your brother's been using people's information to get money, not just yours, friends, coworkers. Some customers, he's been sloppy, desperate." I felt everything in my body go cold like the temperature dropped 20 degrees. "You're telling me Mark used my name to apply for loans?" "3 times," he said. "That we know of." My knees actually went weak. I grabbed the edge of the table to steady myself. "But why?" I managed to say. "Why me?" "Because you've got good credit," he said. "And because he thought you'd never find out." I shook my head, breath shallow. "Why are you showing me all this?" The man hesitated, then pulled out one last sheet, this one a printed email. "Because he tried to use my girlfriend's identity," he said quietly. "And I'm the one who almost got arrested for it. The casino fired him this week when they figured it out. He's running out of people to burn and fast." My stomach dropped. That explained the panic, the rage, the desperation to get me to cosign. He wasn't just scrambling for money. He needed a clean name. He needed a lifeline. He needed me for my credit, my stability, my clean record. And when I said no, he tried to destroy me before I could discover what he'd already done. I swallowed hard, my mouth dry. "Is he in legal trouble?" I asked. The man gave a humorless laugh. "He will be, and if you don't act fast, so will you. Those loans, they look real, they look like you applied. If he defaults, which he will, you'll be the one chased down." My chest went tight. "So what do I do?" He leaned forward, voice low, certain. "You gather everything, every lie, every screenshot, every statement. And you hit him where he actually feels it legally." I stared at the pile of papers. My brother hadn't just betrayed me, he'd used my identity, my credit, my name, and somehow the darkest part of it wasn't even that. It was the reason he chose me, and what he told people behind my back. And I wasn't ready for the horror of that reason. I drove home from Newport in a fog so thick it didn't feel real. The papers in my passenger seat kept sliding with every turn, and each time I heard them shift, I felt a punch of nausea. Identity theft. My own brother. My name forged on loans I never knew existed. But none of it prepared me for the moment my mom called again, this time with a voice so raw, so defeated, that it made something in my chest twist. "Honey, we need to talk about what Mark's been saying." I didn't want to hear it. I was already drowning in enough betrayal to last a lifetime. But then she said it. "He told everyone you owed him." I sat down on the edge of my bed, jacket still on, keys still in my hand. "Owed him what?" I whispered. There was a pause on the other end. A heavy one. The kind you hear before someone tells you something they shouldn't know, something they wish they didn't know. "He told the family," Mom said softly, "that the only reason you're doing well in life is because he always covered for you. That he kept your past a secret, and that if people knew what you'd really done, you wouldn't have a job or a reputation." My mouth went dry. "What past?" I said, confused. Another silence. "He said you stole money from Dad before he died." The world went silent. Not quiet. Silent. I couldn't speak. I couldn't even breathe, because it wasn't just a lie. It was the kind of lie that sticks. The kind that stains your name. The kind that redefines how family looks at you. My dad died 4 years ago. He wasn't even conscious for the last week of his life. He didn't have money to steal, but that didn't matter. It was a perfect lie, impossible to disprove without looking defensive, ugly, suspicious. Why would he say that? I finally managed to whisper. Mom's voice cracked. "Because he told them he kept your secret out of love, that he protected you. That all he wants now is for you to help him the way he helped you." I felt something inside me crack, a deep, painful snap that I'd been avoiding for years. Mark wasn't just using me. He wasn't just manipulating me. He wasn't desperate. He was calculated in a way that chilled me straight through the bone. "And there's more," Mom added quietly. "He told the cousins he asked you to cosign because he was sick, that you knew he was sick. That you didn't care." My jaw tightened so hard it hurt. "Sick with what?" I asked. Mom hesitated. He wouldn't say, just implied it was serious, said he couldn't go public with it yet. Said that if you didn't help him, he might not make it. I sat back stunned. He used sympathy, illness, death, he weaponized it. He said, Mom continued, almost whispering now, that you were refusing to help because you were always jealous of him. That you never wanted him to have what you didn't. Jealous of him, of the man who destroyed my credit, stole my savings, forged my name on loans, turned the family against me, and now rewrote the story so he was the saint and I was the monster. My heart didn't just break, it hardened, because suddenly everything became clear. Mark lied about medical debt so the family would pressure me. He lied about protecting me so he'd look noble. He lied about my dad so he could justify why I owed him. He forged my name because he believed I'd stay silent. He asked me to co-sign because he needed someone clean to take the fall. But the darkest part, the part that made my hands shake as I listened to my mom breathe on the other end, was this. Mark never saw me as family. He saw me as a resource, a name to sign, a wallet to drain, a reputation to leverage, a scapegoat to burn when everything collapsed. I wasn't his sister, I was his backup plan. And now that he was out of options, he was prepared to destroy me completely. But he had no idea that I had the documents, the screenshots, the messages, the forged loans, the witness. He had no idea that everything he built his lies on was about to collapse under him, because revenge wasn't just coming, it was already in motion. The morning after my mom told me everything, the lies, the manipulation, the story he'd crafted to turn everyone against me, I woke up with a kind of calm I hadn't felt in months. Not peace, not relief, resolve. Mark wanted to burn my life down to cover his tracks. He wanted me cornered, scared, scrambling. What he didn't realize was that he'd handed me every tool I needed to bury him with the truth. I spent the next 2 days gathering everything. Every bank statement, every text where he asked for money, every cash transfer, every message where he guilt-tripped, threatened, or begged, every forged loan document from that man in Newport, every screenshot of the group chat, yes, even the messages after I was removed, which another cousin sent me when they realized something was off, and the photo of him at the casino. I printed it all, organized it by date, built a folder so thick it looked like a freshman year binder. Then I filed a police report for identity theft, not an online form, not a casual inquiry. A full, formal report at the station, complete with the forged loan applications, signatures, and the witness statement from the Newport guy who met me. The detective didn't even blink. "This is solid," he said. "You did the right thing. You protected yourself." Next, I froze every credit line with all 3 major bureaus, locked down my accounts, alerted lenders, put fraud protection on everything tied to my name. If Mark tried to use me again, he'd run straight into a wall. Only after all that was done, after I was legally protected, financially locked down, and fully documented, did I finally go for the part that would truthfully burn everything he built. I wrote a message to the entire family, not in the group chat I'd been voted out of. No, I created a brand new one called Family, Actual Facts, and I added every single person. Aunts, uncles, cousins, even the cousin who voted yes, first like she was trying to win a gold medal for fastest betrayal. I waited until everyone joined. Then I dropped everything. First message. Since Mark said I owed him the truth, here it is. Then I sent the forged loan in my name, the other 2 attempts, the casino photo, a redacted copy of the police report, screenshots of the money I'd loaned him, the messages proving he lied about being sick, the messages where he smeared me, no commentary, no insults, no dramatic monologue, just the facts. The chat exploded. My aunt, "Oh my God," my cousin Tyler. "He told us you stole from your dad," my uncle. "This is fraud, you need to press charges." Brooke, the one who voted me out first. "I am so sorry, he told us you were heartless." My mom left the chat entirely, then rejoined, then left again. But the silence from Mark was the loudest thing in the room. He didn't say a word, not one, because he knew. He knew I had him pinned in a way he couldn't twist. Later that night, he finally texted me privately. "Why would you do this to me?" I blocked him. Again, for good. 3 days later, he got fired from the casino. A week after that, the detective called to tell me the case was formally opened. If the lenders pursued charges, and they likely would, Mark would finally face the consequences he'd been outrunning for years. The group chat he kicked me out of, it fell apart. People left. People confronted him. People apologized to me privately, some more sincerely than others. I didn't rejoin. I didn't want to. Some doors aren't meant to be reopened. The last time my mom called, she sounded small. I didn't know, she said quietly. I know, I told her, and I meant it. But I also meant, I'm done being the fixer. My revenge wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic. It was truth, delivered with receipts so heavy they crushed every lie he ever told. And the best part, I didn't need to set anything on fire. All I had to do was stop putting myself between Mark and the flames. He burned himself. And I finally walked away without getting scorched.